Hi, I'm Alex, I'm one of the BookBros, and today I'm going to be telling you about the story Going Native by Ideas Guy on spacebattles.com. So Going Native is a crossover story between Dragan Ball Z and the DC universe. So if you're interested in comic books, this might be something for you. If you've ever heard about Dragan Ball Z, you should know about the Saiyans, the alien warrior race. This story is all about what happens when that alien race is introduced into the DC universe. What if all those fantastical elements were happening in DC? So the main character ends up being Prince Vegeta's younger brother, and he's actually a reincarnated human. And you sort of get a hint from the name of the story, Going Native, is what happens when he becomes more Saiyan-like, but with a sort of human base state. And it's absolutely phenomenal, the impact that can have on both the society at large and the world around him. So my thoughts on Going Native are, it's absolutely amazing. You get to see Prince Tarball fight his way from being one of the weakest Saiyans ever to being one of the strongest Saiyans ever. And in this Saiyan race, his humanity sort of holds him back, and so as he goes on, he slowly loses that humanity. And you get to see what someone who's forced to make tough decisions does, but who still cares and has to harden their heart. And that's a big thing in this series, because you get to see like the Indigo Lanterns, who are all about compassion, try and make him feel compassion, but he does. And so he's making all these things fully conscious of the impact that they have, unlike most Saiyans. How would I rate Going Native? The main plot has actually developed quite a bit. There's been multiple arcs. There's been the getting strong enough for his family to acknowledge him arc. There's been the Frieza war against the Reach. There's been globalization and like household name branding arc. And it's just been a very strong single plot line that's been going overarching. And so I'd rate that as a solid 4. There's been some deviation, so it's not perfect 5, but I'd rate it as a 4 stars out of 5. The subplot, there's not too many subplots. He's got his little sister who, and the sort of evolution of the Saiyan race with some human ideals in there, but that's minor. It doesn't really get super explored, at least not at this point in the story. So I'd rate that as like a 3 out of 5. The character development with Tarball is 5 out of 5. He starts off as basically a human in a Saiyan's body, and then ends up as a Saiyan with some human memories, who's like, why would I show compassion to an enemy who's trying to kill my family? The writing is top-notch. Ideas Guy does a thorough editing job. He makes sure to post once for his Patreons, and then he posts a second time. The writing itself is actually very good. It's aimed more for an adult audience, so higher teens, but then again, that's sort of, where DC and Dragan Ball Z aim. So if you're into either one of those things, you might actually really enjoy this. So the writing is 5 stars, 4.5, whatever. It's very good. Foreshadowing, the way he writes is he's actually written out the entire story arc, and then he writes a few chapters there and then fills it in. And so he's foreshadowed stuff that's now come into effect. Like, very specifically, the lanterns. He's mentioned the lanterns, and then he's dealt with the green lanterns, the red lanterns, the yellow lanterns, the indigo lanterns, the blue lanterns, and all of those were slowly introduced with some good foreshadowing. So the foreshadowing itself is great. There's probably a couple plot holes that I'm not thinking of right now, but for the most part, they're not very noticeable. So I'd give the plot holes and the foreshadowing a 3.5, 4 out of 5. It's pretty solid. And my overall rating would be like a 4. It's a good story that I think you should read if you're interested in Dragan Ball Z or DC, because you get to see a weird mix in the DC sort of universe, which is kind of fascinating. I've never really seen something like this. So I'd recommend you check it out if that sounds interesting. Thanks for watching. Yo, thanks for watching. If you liked this, thank you. If you didn't like it, I agree. If you have a comment, keep it to yourself. If you don't have a comment, just spew your thoughts down below, you know? Bye. And so I get to see Prince Tarble going on and doing this thing where he fights bad guys and becomes stuff. So my thoughts on the story. So my thoughts on Going.